Welcome back to Keeping Up with the Comics. Today, we are keeping up with Justice League number 59, Taskmaster number 5, and Carnage Red, Black, and Blood number 1. The first book we're keeping up with today is Taskmaster number 5. And if you notice, you'll get a prelude of what's in the book on the cover. And I don't know about Disney and Marvel and lack of blood, lack of violence, but they didn't cut any corners here on this cover. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Basically, what happens in issue number 5, I guess I should catch you up. Basically, Taskmaster has been framed throughout this series, has been framed for killing Maria Hill. And it's his job, along with Nick Fury Jr., to uncover who actually killed Maria Hill and why they did it. There's an object called the Rubicon trigger that Maria Hill was looking into, and that's kind of where they start. But in order to get into the Rubicon trigger, they needed basically the movement, the motions of 3 super spies, being Okoye from Wakanda, White Fox from South Korea, and Phil Coulson. Now, in the first 4 books, they basically got all of these motions. Taskmaster got them down so that he can break into the Rubicon trigger in issue number 5. But as we all know, Natasha, the Black Widow, has been on his tail now for basically the whole series. She has not let this go because she is going to kill Taskmaster because he killed Maria Hill. So on the way back to America, basically Nick Fury and Taskmaster are talking in the car, and Nick Fury doesn't want to hear Taskmaster, but Taskmaster has been telling us and now telling Nick Fury the whole time that something's afoot. Somebody wants them chasing this rabbit called the Rubicon trigger. Someone set them up and knew that if they killed Maria Hill, that they would go after it. And he doesn't think that it's Black Widow. He doesn't think it's Nick Fury, but there's some third party that wants them both dead. Or wants them both to find the Rubicon trigger. I'm sorry. But what happens is that eventually the Black Widow does catch up with Taskmaster. And as you can imagine, the fight ensues, and it is glorious. It is everything you'd imagine from a Taskmaster and Black Widow fight. But before the fight is over with, before Black Widow could kill Taskmaster, someone calls for her to stop and not go through with it. Now, I won't tell you here who that is or what the reason is, but there's a bombshell dropped in this book. At least they thought it was a bombshell. To tell you the truth, I should have seen it coming. I should have known, and it wasn't too big to me. Maybe it means something more to a more experienced reader, someone who knows all the characters a lot better. But the ending to this book was kind of blah, kind of meh. But I enjoyed the ride, as I said many times, that I was going to skip out on this series after issue 1, and issue 2 drug me back in. And I'm glad I kept up with this series, even if number 5 did not land like I thought it would. The art was really good. They let us in on the blood. They let us in on the fight. They didn't hold back. And so I appreciate that. But yeah, go ahead and check this book out. See how the ending goes. See why Maria Hill really died, what Rubicon Trigger is really about, and enjoy. So the next book I want to look at is Carnage, Black, White, and Blood, issue number 1. Of course, I doubled back to get this Gleason webhead cover, basically because other people are complaining about the webhead covers. Sometimes I just like to go against the grain, and so I grabbed this cover, and we're gonna dive into the book. So first off, this is an anthology series or an anthology book. I believe it's a series of 4 books, and this book has 3 stories in it. I don't know if we should expect 3 stories in each book, but this book has 3 stories, and they are The Love Story by Teenie Howard, End of the Trail by Benjamin Percy, and You Are Carnage by Al Ewing. So I checked out all 3 of these stories, and they were okay stories. I think I liked the second story the best. We're going to go over all 3 stories, or at least touch on them, because as I said, I don't want to give away too much. I still want you to go and check this book out and read it. I think it's a pretty good book, and pretty good 3 stories in here. But the first book, the Love Story, is basically about Carnage and Shriek. And me being a new reader, I've heard of Shriek before. I've heard about her in the Venom Lethal Protector run. But I did not know that her and Carnage were a thing. I guess if you put 2 and 2 together, you can figure that out. But I didn't know they were a thing. But the first love story, or the first story, is called Love Story. And it's kind of how Carnage and Shriek see each other and love each other through darkness and chaos and carnage, pretty much. And it's kind of a cute story in a way. Some of the pictures and some of the depictions kind of throw me off a little bit. We also have Cloak as a character in here. He is kind of battling Carnage, while Carnage is telling his love story and confessing his love for Shriek and all of their darkness. And that is probably my second favorite story. My favorite story in here is the second one, The End of the Trail. So what we have in our second story by Benjamin Percy is basically a federal lawman who is used to going out and getting the bad guys, getting the worst of the worst, the old time Wild West mountain serial killers who do the worst things, like hanging the sheriff in each town, or mutilating their victims. He hunts all of these people, but the hunt he has going on right now is for a special person who may not be a person at all. I think you know where I'm going with this. And the reason why I like it is because for me, it is pretty simple. If you see our sheriff here, our federal lawman, I really like this book because it lets me read the character in the voice of Sam Elliott, if you know who that is. But he's kind of looking for this killer who's been going around and doing all kind of crazy things, all kind of madness, and eventually, of course, he finds this killer. And needless to say, what you're thinking about his chances versus Carnage is pretty true, but I'll let you check out the book to see what happens with their encounter. Now, the third story, We Are Carnage, I think a lot of people, I dug the least because I don't feel like going through the work that this story puts you through, but a lot of people might. because this story basically plays out like a board game. So you have this, is he a colonel? Is he a general? I think he's a general. You have this general basically telling you that you are piloting Carnage. And as you can see, it starts off with panel number 1 and then panel number 2. And then you have panels number 3, 4, 5, and so on. And basically throughout the whole thing, this general, and then whatever computer system they're playing the game on, kind of gives you instructions, tells you about how much willpower you have to resist the urge to basically kill like Carnage would kill. And it comes with instructions. It tells you what panels to go to get this result or that result. If things are going right, go here. If things are going wrong, go here. And quite frankly, that's a ride I wasn't ready to go on when I first read the book. I may sit down and read it again and actually try to follow the panels, but that's not really my thing. I just want a simple story. And so that was my least favorite of the 3. But I'm sure that other people will enjoy all 3 stories, or at least enjoy that story and the love story, maybe more than I did. I think it's pretty decent. It's a pretty decent book, and it probably depends on your taste as to which story you like best. But I would suggest that to anybody to go ahead and pick up this book, especially if you're a Carnage fan. If you're a symbiote fan, I don't know anything about Carnage, and I felt comfortable reading this book, and I think you will too. The last book I want to catch up with is Justice League number 59. Of course, you know, I got the Snyder cut cover with the Flash on the front, and you know, Superman and Darkseid are there too, yada yada yada. But my boy Barry is on the front, and so I had to grab this cover when I grabbed this book. Now, the book itself is pretty fun, and it kind of starts off with a funny piece of dialogue from Oliver Queen from the Green Arrow on this first page, basically making reference to Superman revealing himself to be Clark Kent in Bendis's run. Of course, this is also Bendis's Justice League book, but it kind of pokes fun at the people who are not appreciative of that effort by Superman to reveal himself and to even more humanize himself. And Green Arrow is basically telling the rest of the league that that's what they need to do. They should more humanize themselves and come down to the level of the people, so the people can understand them as more than just these superhero titans that go around saving the world. And I don't think I blame Ollie for his point of view. But also, I don't blame Superman for revealing himself. And I'm probably in the minority, so we're going to move on with the rest of the story. So the story proper is actually about this villain who calls himself Brutus, basically invading Kahndaq and disturbing the day of Black Adam, who is kind of becoming a anti-hero here more than a villain. But as Brutus basically gets into a fight with Black Adam in Kahndaq and is giving Black Adam kind of a hard time, the rest of the Justice League shows up. And so the Justice League kind of fights off Brutus, and everybody's taking their turns. Everybody takes a lick from Brutus and gets a lick in on Brutus until Brutus decides to leave. So once the Justice League gets back to the Hall of Justice, one mistake I think I noticed, I'm not sure if it's on Bendis or if it's on editorial or if it's on the colorist, but they have Barry Allen here, and they have Barry Allen here with red hair. Barry Allen does not have red hair. So either someone messed up the coloring of Barry's hair, or someone forgot that Barry is off elsewhere, and I don't think should be on the Justice League. I've got to check the timeline, but I'm pretty sure Wally right now is operating as the Flash. But I'll check that, and I will get back to you when I know more. But when they go back to the Hall of Justice, they basically found out that this Brutus is from the planet of one Naomi McDuffie. And so she's going to be a central part of this story. As for the backup story to Justice League, it's actually a Justice League Dark story, and it's pretty good. I don't know anything about Justice League Dark. I've never read a Justice League Dark story, and so I kind of jumped into this sight unseen. But I want to enforce the idea that I've been spreading, which is that DC has increased their books prices, some of their books prices, basically by $1, and given us backup stories for other characters in these books. And while a lot of people don't want the price increase, I am a proponent of checking out the backup story, checking out the new character or new story that they're telling, and seeing if you like it. Go ahead and give something a chance. I know that extra $1 says a lot to some people, but I think you should just try, instead of dumping your book, try out the backup story. And so I did that with Justice League Dark. So in the Justice League Dark backup story, we basically get a character who first goes unnamed, and he is basically coming to this old castle, this old mansion. And he says he's been around a while and he is coming back for what is his. He wants to reclaim magic. And the character, I won't tell you who it is, but I will tell you it's very interesting, because I did not know that this character was a character in DC lore. This character is a historical figure. Most of us, I think, have heard of, but I did not know he had a place in DC, and I did not know it was that prominent in magic. But him coming back seems to be a pretty threatening figure in magic, and I think I'm going to continue to read Justice League and Justice League Dark to see how this story goes and see if I can find something new for myself. So that was Keeping Up with the Comics. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you learned something. I know I did. If you did enjoy yourself, if you like this content, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you want to keep up with me, Keeping Up with the Comics, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, do all the good YouTube things. And if I missed anything, or if you have anything to add, or you just want to have your input, have your say, go ahead and leave a comment. Anyway, as I always say, love yourself, love others, and I will be back in a flash.